Hello and welcome to Reddit on Reddit, the internet's auditory version of Reddit. I'm Nelson Allingham, joined by Michael Campbell.
Nelson, do you know what I am going to take as a massive victory?
Yes.
So today, well, let me preface this actually. I don't often weigh myself, right? Like I don't really do it that often. Don't really find the point. Last time I did it was about 2 to 3 months ago, because I only know because it like records in my phone. Today, apropos of nothing, I got out of the shower, scale was there. I thought, we've been in lockdown for a while, and you know, food can be a comfort. I've certainly been making myself more comfortable. I thought, you have to know, don't you? Sometimes. So I stepped on the scale, and this is what I'm taking as a huge victory, Nelson. I haven't put on any weight. Certainly haven't lost any weight, but the fact that I somehow haven't put on any weight, I'm going to say big old win.
Yeah. I'm totally on board with you. I totally get where you're at.
Yeah.
Today, I didn't weigh myself, but I just like took off my shirt to go into the shower, and as I was kind of,
past the mirror or something,
into the shower, looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, I'm not as fat as I feel like I should be.
Yeah.
Not particularly skinny, but just not as fat as I thought I should be.
Do you think it is?
And it's a win.
I have a theory now. It's just formed in my head. Melbourne, we've been locked down on and off, but I think when you put them all together, it's like longer than 6 months altogether.
Yeah.
We've been in lockdown. And do you think that now it's gotten to the point where we've comfort eaten so much that now we're like, it doesn't bring us comfort anymore. Like we've been past that stage. And now we're back to regular. I mean, not regular like mental state, but just regular like our weight then fluctuates and balances back out.
Yeah. I thought, evolution might have taken a hold, actually. And it's just assumed that this is now the state of being as humans. And the body better change as part of this.
Anyway, that'll be the
most rapid evolution ever.
Anyway, that'll be like the last COVID talk, presumably. So we want this to be a fun, escapist entertainment podcast, of course. We don't want to bring everyone down.
Don't tell me what I'll talk about, Cambo. I'll talk about what I want. I won't talk about COVID.
Yeah, you don't want to.
Because it's a real downer.
Yeah.
And nobody really wants that. Okay, let's get into it. This first Reddit on Reddit was by Richard777. And it was in the subreddit Cursed Comments. But that was actually cross-posted from the subreddit Dank Memes. And that was posted by person 7849. But that was actually cross-posted from the Ask Reddit subreddit.
Simple enough.
And they blocked out the username, so I can't see
have you? Is this a sneaky way? Sometimes you like to use an Ask Reddit as a Reddit on Reddit. Is this a sneaky way to have made an Ask Reddit into a Reddit on Reddit?
Nah, because it's a comment.
Yeah.
So, or Dank Meme. But definitely not technically an Ask Reddit.
Yeah.
So anyway, this Ask Reddit was, what fan theory do you 100% accept as true? So somebody's left a comment of what their fan theory. Oh, you know what? While we're at it, any fan theories?
There was a fan theory I used to really like, but it's since been ruined. The fan theory was that James Bond isn't one person. It is the name that you take on when you become 007. Your secret identity is James Bond, and you become 007, which is why he looks different all the time, why he introduces himself on a first and second name basis to so many enemies. And so the idea is he has been going since the 60s, but every time someone becomes 007, their alias is James Bond. And I've always really liked that. I thought that kind of like makes sense, doesn't break the world, it's a bit of fun. Until the movie Skyfall came out. And they're like, no, that's him, that's his house, that's where he grew up, that's his parents, he's definitely James Bond.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like they were so against the fan theory, they went out of their way to be like, no, he is James Bond. Like there's no ifs or buts about it.
Yeah. What ourselves?
Yeah.
Just like let people have that one thought, which sounds cool as well.
It's a fun little theory, isn't it?
Yeah, you could. It almost allows some logic to the franchise.
Yeah,
and they were like, no logic here. No, different person every time doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Same
to be
timeline,
clear,
we don't know.
To be clear, this man that's about 40 is the same man that's about 40 from the 60s. I want that to be clear.
We need to come up with another theory that whenever you name your child James Bond, there is
they're recruited and
government comes in and injects your baby with special agent formula, and that's how you get there.
Which is interesting because the name is James Bond. Ian Fleming stole that name because he once picked up a book about ornithology. And it was by the author James Bond. He's like, this is the most boring book I could ever imagine, and that's the most boring name I could ever imagine. And that would be perfect. Okay. And he just took the name, which would be funny because then it means some ornithologist is watching birds, and the government kicks at his door. It's like, you've been recruited.
That's pretty good. Do you know, just side story, when people go undercover, so to speak, they actually always still use this is in Australia, I'm assuming it's everywhere else, but they actually use their same first name because the idea is that if you got stopped down the street and somebody was like, hey, James, but your undercover
Bill,
is Stephen, then that would give you away. So they always use your first name.
That logic tracks for the movie The Departed, so I believe it.
Yeah. Often if something goes against the movie The Departed, then I reject it as an idea just in life.
If something seems fishy, check if Scorsese's done it. If he has done it, it's probably all right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Anyway, this comment. Okay, so what fan theory do you 100% accept as true? Can't credit this person, but they've said Kermit caused 9/11. Not really much of a fan theory, though, since it's unintentionally canon. He leaves it there for a bit.
Okay.
And then puts in an edit, I think, after
many
people probably asked a few questions.
I imagine there's a few comments being what?
Yeah. He said, realize this should be explained. In the 2002 TV film, It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas movie, there's a part where an angel shows Kermit an alternate reality where he was never born. For whatever reason, the editors didn't really think about it and continued to use footage with the Twin Towers still standing for this scene. However, they aren't there in his original universe. Therefore, something that Kermit did in his life did in fact cause 9/11 in Muppet lore.
Wow, that is interesting.
It's such a bizarre thing that's accidentally happened, but this isn't a theory. This is true.
According to the established
shown.
According to the established canon of the Muppets universe, if Kermit didn't exist, 9/11, presumably, even if it was either foiled or never happened.
Yeah.
So either someone that could have foiled the attack was busy watching the Muppets, or something that Kermit did radicalized those that were in charge of planning the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah. Maybe there's an episode of the Muppets that, there's a lot of episodes. I haven't seen them. I haven't seen them all. Where Kermit is just ragging on Bin Laden or something. And he's be like, whoa.
I've just formed a theory. Are you familiar with the plot of the movie The Manchurian Candidate, in which there is an assassin that's been brainwashed? They don't realize they've been brainwashed, but one day something happens that triggers this impulse, and then they need to go kill, I think it's a senator or something. And the idea, it's this person was living a normal life. They didn't realize they were a sleeper agent, and then something just suddenly happened. If I remember correctly, there is some tenuous link between Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the 9/11 attack, and American military training in some way. And I wonder if he was radicalized slightly there, but also the Muppets being an American franchise, maybe like Rainbow Connection or something was playing in the background at the time.
Yeah.
And then years later,
Maybe.
Rainbow Connection played again. Snap goes Bin Laden Manchurian Candidate style and causes 9/11.
Yeah. That probably, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. I thought it was going to be like I thought maybe there was a scenario where Jim Henson, for some reason, was the one who was brainwashed.
Right. Yeah. Putting coded messages in the Muppet Show.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sending out like dates and times of attacks and things like that.
It's like in certain episodes, like when the Muppet theme song starts, like it's time to light the lights, it's time to plan attack. What? Nothing.
Yeah.
Just little subliminal messages padded into the Muppet Show.
Yeah. Bloody Kermit. The thing is, it's pretty smart. No one would ever suspect Kermit the Frog.
I wonder, Disney, who now own the Muppets, I don't know if they did in 2003, but they're very well known for sanitizing things after the fact. So, for instance, the movie Splash about the mermaid was recently released on Disney Plus, and there was one shot when she runs into the ocean, and you can see just a little bit of her butt, and they CGI'd on extra hair to cover the butt because they're like, that's not Disney appropriate. So I wonder if they own the Muppets now, and that movie.
Like, can I just stop you just for 1 second?
Yeah.
I imagine some like creepy dude. He's like, I remember this movie. I remember seeing butt. Like who?
Well,
like who's fact checking this movie?
I will say people noticed it because the CGI hair is very noticeable.
Was terrible. Okay,
Yeah. Because you're like, what's wrong with that shot? And then maybe people just, it was
then also wouldn't you be like, oh, well, they did a bad job of that in.
But it was like the early 80s. But I mean, it was Daryl Hannah. She's a very good looking lady. So maybe people did go, no, I remember seeing her butt, by the way.
Vivid images of her butt.
I wonder if that movie is on Disney Plus, whether or not they've edited the Twin Towers out now.
Yeah, they've changed it. Yeah, maybe.
Cowards, I say.
Cowards. Let it be that Kermit caused 9/11. That bloody jerk. All right. I think we should move on to Ask Reddit. Ask Reddit. This is by Gregory5. What do you consider the biggest threat to humanity?
Ooh,
it's
Kermit the Frog.
It's Kermit.
Clearly.
Kermit the Frog.
If he continues unchecked, I don't want to say that he caused a certain pandemic that we said we weren't going to talk about again. But, oh, God. Was he sold at a wet market?
A movie in future where nobody's indoors.
Yeah, it's like
having to wear masks.
Let's say it's another one where they travel to a future where Kermit doesn't exist, and it's set in like, I don't know, April or May 2020. Everyone's out partying, having a good time. They're like, wait a minute, that's not what I remember 2020 being like. Thank you very much.
This is not how this tracks.
I mean, with the obvious answer here, and not to sound too much like a first-year philosophy student trying to flex and sound all intellectual, but it is humanity. Like, humanity is the biggest threat to humanity. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we will definitely be the cause of humanity being wiped out, if not directly through, like, war or whatever. Like, through our actions, at least, like climate change. Or we will definitely be the cause of whatever kills us.
Yeah. I think...
barring, like, an alien invasion. Then we're off the hook.
Yeah. I'm praying for an alien invasion just so that we can.
Yeah, if you see like some huge meteor coming our way, we're like, oh, thank God it wasn't us. Thank God it was random luck.
I think in an alien invasion allows us to. This is how I imagine an alien invasion will happen: is they come, they kill like 90% of the population. We're practically dead. And then we slowly fight for rights over years and years into the intergalactic, like politics.
Yep.
And we say something like, we would have been fine if we hadn't have been invaded, which is just a lie, but we can obviously tell that now because...
We were going great guns, thanks very much.
We were so good until, you guys came along.
Yeah. I think, and don't check into this, the planet was fine, and then when you arrived, global warming happened really quick.
Yeah.
And we couldn't stop it. There was no point that we could have stopped that.
Yeah. Honestly, we were so close to fixing this Afghanistan problem. So close. It would just...
We had so much fossil fuel left, and then you guys came and it just disappeared. So I don't know whether you've done that or what's going on there.
Yeah. We were making a seamless transition from one to the other. Nobody was trying to build one up over the other, no matter how bad it was for the environment. It's just really annoying that you guys ruined that. I think that's it. No, I think more specifically to like that it will be humanity that destroys humanity is it really feels like ignorance more than anything, because I think that it really kills me, and I sort of wonder whether it's just something that as I've grown older I've become more aware of or something, or whether it's just always been. And
I would say that the last 18 months has certainly put this into a sharper focus for everybody, I hope.
Yeah. I mean, there's things just like the fact that, I know we've spoken about this before, but the idea that social media gave a lot of dumb people a voice, basically. And prior to that, I mean, the internet in general probably, but prior to that, it was like, your news sources, there was still some out there that were not true, but I feel like there was just
they spread
fewer.
Spread less quickly.
Yeah.
It was a bit harder to find them or something. And look, to be fair, I'm no fan of Facebook, but this isn't Facebook's. If it wasn't Facebook, something else would have come along. Like, it was an inevitability this was going to happen. Facebook just happens to be...
The internet in general. I think,
exactly. Yeah. Social media was a natural evolution of chat rooms and all that kind of stuff that was already happening. But, it just definitely... it gives a bigger share of voice to people that aren't vetted in any way. Which, in one way, evens the playing field. But in another way, it evens the playing field in quite a bad way. Because an expert's voice is just as valid as someone that has no training now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Look at us. We have no training.
We support Kermit-based theories of...
We're Kermit truthers.
We are Kermit truthers. Yeah. But, I think... we were speaking about this before as well, but aside from the fact that maybe I've just missed it, growing up, or there's things that have put it into sharp focus. I really think Trump really fucked over the world with, honestly, he just denied so much that it became okay for everyone to do that. Yeah. Like, I really think he had such an unbelievably significant impact on people denying evidence. Yeah. Because it was like, if the president can do it, then literally everyone can do it.
There was this strange moment, I think, where the whole world had the same realization, in which I can't even think of one off the top of my head. Let's take any of the numerous Donald Trump public scandals, right? Where someone will be like, hey, Trump, we have you on video doing this thing. And he goes, no, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And he just stayed at that. And the whole world went, can you just do that?
Yeah.
Can you just deny the reality of that?
Shit.
Yeah. And apparently, if you just deny it vehemently enough, people just eventually, they don't believe you, but they just move on.
Yeah, exactly. Because you just kind of throw up a whole bunch of, flashing lights and streamers at the same time. And
how much damage to society do you think the phrase fake news has done?
Yeah.
Because that's the cry now, isn't
yeah.
it? Someone will come out and someone will be like, fake news. And
Yeah.
instantly, like, I guess that's just in dispute now.
Yeah, that's right. Because as soon as you say it, you can it no matter how valid it is,
I think
it puts the doubt in.
I forget the name of the argument now, but there's a thing that says, if you bring up Hitler in an argument, you've kind of lost the moral high ground. I forget the name of this theory, but I think there should be an equivalent for the phrase fake news now. But if you throw out fake news, it's such an easy shortcut to trying to take the moral high ground that with no evidence behind you, that I think it should weaken your argument.
Yeah.
If you can counter with evidence or something, fine. But if you go, fake news and have no support for it, then you should have lost that argument.
So it's kind of like, okay, if you mention Hitler, you've lost the moral high ground. Yeah. But if you sound like Trump, you've also lost the moral high ground. If something you say is what you could imagine Trump saying, you've lost. You've lost the moral high ground.
Okay, so it's called Godwin's Law. That's the theory. It's like if you equate something to the Nazis or to Hitler, without any kind of like actual support or anything for it, essentially it's just such an easy out that you've kind of lost the moral high ground of the argument. Is their theory.
In what context though? Because if I'm like, oh, that's bad. Just as bad as the Nazis.
Let's take we're in lockdown.
Accurate.
We're in lockdown at the moment, and there are some people here that don't like the premier of our state, and they call him Dictator Dan. And there are some people that generally like, this is oppressive. This is just like Nazi Germany. It's like, it's not. You've inflated this to this such a ridiculous degree to try and sensationalize your point that you've now lost the moral high ground in your argument. That's the idea behind it. Like, you trivialize something like the Holocaust to make your petty point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what if somebody is to say, like, the concentration camps in China are as bad as the Nazis? That's a more valid.
That's a more valid. Yeah. It's about trivializing something as horrible as the Third Reich and the Holocaust to something that is your trivial annoyance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if something is literally like the Holocaust, fine. Yeah, absolutely. Compare it.
Yeah. Just be more reasonable with the things that you reference. Yes. You could be like, I think maybe you could be like, this lockdown is like being an old person in an old person's home where you lose all your rights and people tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Maybe that's more accurate.
Yeah.
You just got to change your story to the right.
Yeah, to a more comparable thing.
Yeah.
Oh, this lockdown is kind of like being severely restricted in some of your movements and some of your freedoms are taken away. And someone will go, that's pretty accurate, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the point. Yeah. Here's another one, Kimbo. This is by Varo20. You are the last man on Earth with the remaining women. What would that be like?
Well, this is actually the basis of a very, very good comic book, Nelson, called Why the Last Man. And in Why the Last Man, a guy named Yorick, at one point in time, just all of a sudden, for some unknown reason, every man or creature with a Y chromosome just dies, like hemorrhages and dies, except for this one guy called Yorick. And the idea is, I think a lot of people are kind of like, oh, wouldn't that be amazing? I'm the only guy. And it's kind of like the more, I say granted, it's like a silly kind of fantasy comic book, but all these things where it shows all these like aspects of it being like, that would be horrible. So for instance, like essentially he is like the most valuable commodity on the earth. And people are like hunting him down to try and find him. Like it's this really interesting like flip of what I think the silly frat boy cliche of that would be. It's very, 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 very good comic. I believe there's a TV series coming out later this year as well. But it seemed horrible. Like it seems like such a huge burden of responsibility, but also like an unfeasibly huge reliance on one person as well.
I remember this story ages ago. There was this man, I want to say World War One era, not sure, just pretend that that's factually correct. And he was a mortar exploded close to him and exposed a lot of his internal organs. But he survived. And so when he went back home, there was these scientists like, oh, we want to study, because we've never been able to see the inside of somebody's organs working, intestines organs working. So we want to have a look. And I think initially the guy was like, oh, okay, yep, sure. But then he was like, oh, no. After a while, he was like, no, I'm, being treated a bit like a lab rat. It's not good for me. I don't feel good. I don't know what tests they were doing, but maybe painful, maybe who knows. And so he said, I'm not doing this anymore. But then the scientists were like, no, this is such an advancement in technology or in our understanding of the human body. They actually took him to court. And the court ruled that he had to be subject to these tests for, the betterment of mankind. Yeah. And so I imagine in this scenario, the same sort of thing would happen. Same sort of thing, yeah. It's like, well, we're going to have to study this guy relentlessly until we can work out how to populate the world with men again and what caused this issue in the men that died and this one guy that's still alive.
Yeah, and again, these are kind of issues that are brought up through this comic book, Why the Last Man. There's a lot of stuff. So this was written in 2003-ish. So the George Bush era of politics, George Bush Jr. And there are some things that I remember at the time being like, oh, that seems a bit silly, which is actually aged really well, I think. So there's this concept in there that the government instantly becomes democratic in America because in the Republican Party there was just way less women. So suddenly all the Democratic people just had way more seats and everything. And then the Republicans are convinced it's a conspiracy theory against them. And now I'm like, that would absolutely happen. Absolutely that would happen. And there's another one about how international travel really slows down because it's something like 75% of men were airline pilots. So there was way less female pilots trained. So international travel had to slow down until they could train people up enough. I'm like, they're really interesting aspects that I guess goes a little bit further beyond to consider what this world would be like and how much certain things would advance and certain things would really slow down until it equalized.
Yeah. I mean, even just the idea of with the Thanos snap and reducing the population by half, the idea that the whole world slows down regardless, just because of the sheer numbers, and probably gets more technical with the different positions, but just in general, if you go to half the population, everything's going to slow the fuck down.
Could you imagine with the Thanos snap, right? Because the idea is that it's completely random and therefore completely fair. But in randomness, weird patterns do emerge. So imagine that half the population wiped out. But coincidentally, every chef on Earth was part of that half. Oh my God, we're going to be chefs. It's highly unlikely, but not impossible.
That would suck if you worked at McDonald's and by technicality you're a chef. You'd be like, but I'm not even really. What do you reckon that would do to people? Because surely, let's say they were like, oh my God, we've worked out the link and it's, it's chefs. What do you reckon that would do to people then taking up a chef's career, making food? I feel like everybody would be like, well, no.
Right.
What if something like this happens again?
You're right.
And the chefs are targeted again. I reckon restaurants would just die.
Yeah.
Nobody would.
It would be interesting because there is no correlation, but it is a weird statistical anomaly. Sorry, that all the chefs disappeared. But you're right. People would be like, there's something there. They wouldn't have all just disappeared by accident.
Yeah. I'd never cook food again.
And like how extreme?
Or maybe what makes you a chef?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. How extreme would people go? Like, would you be eating a sandwich and someone go, "Did you make that sandwich yourself, or did someone make that for you?" Have you turned someone into a chef right now?
Yeah, I think what
is it the change of money?
Way to get around it is you have to swim in the ocean.
Yeah,
and if you accidentally eat a few carp, Cambo, then you didn't go into preparing that.
I would say
accidentally flew into your mouth.
Would the loophole be, say I'm making a yummy little sandwich, and you're like, oh, I wouldn't mind a sandwich as well. Obviously, it does make sense for me to make one and then you to make one. I'll make two, but I'll finish mine, but I won't put the top bread on yours. And you come along and you complete that. So I haven't completely made you this thing. You have assisted. Do you think that's enough to get around it?
I think we're both chefs. I think you condemned one of us to death, Cambo. If you had have just made the sandwich in full, I'd still be alive. Although that's how I'd get you. We'd be like, oh, there's an agreement, okay? We know that this is still being a chef, making the sandwich, putting the top slice of bread on. And so you make it almost completely and you don't put the slice of bread on, but I don't complete it.
Yeah,
I don't complete the sandwich.
Yeah, okay. You eat an incomplete sandwich.
Yeah. I just throw you under the bus every time.
How long do you think, if the snap happened and all the chefs did disappear, how long would it take the world to realize that all the chefs had disappeared? Because you might think the chefs in your area disappeared, but it would be a while before someone's like, I haven't seen the chef in like a long time.
Yeah.
Like any, at all. Not just, I haven't just seen any chefs in a very long time.
Yeah. I think it's when we would get the news, the global news, that Uber Eats has gone out of business. I think that would be... That's how we'd understand. Because obviously you're right. Like a localized area, we're like, oh, well, obviously there's no point ordering on Uber Eats because there's nothing there. But until everybody realized in the world, we hear on the news, I've got shares in Uber Eats, and then they're worth nothing tomorrow. Like, oh, shit.
Do you think, the inverse to a point you made before, do you think there would be people that were a bit hurt? Maybe they do work at, say, McDonald's, and they're very proud of their burger cooking ability.
Yeah. And
then they don't disappear.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, come on, I'm a chef, aren't I? And everyone's like, nah, I don't know. I think the real chefs went, you know?
Yeah. I tell you what, this is kind of only relevant to you and I and maybe a few other people in the world, but you'd be real safe if you worked in the gold class kitchen in the cinemas in Australia, because chef is like probably one of the furthest things you technically are.
Let's just say, for comparison, the gold class, the luxury cinemas here in Australia that offer how do we explain this? Offer what they advertise as like boutique, classy kind of upscale food.
Yeah.
But it's like wedges and stuff. To put this into perspective, you and I have both worked in the kitchen of a gold class, and we're not chefs.
Yeah.
We're the furthest thing from chefs you could get.
Professional reheaters. Maybe,
deep fryers, certainly.
Yeah. Yes. Cool. Anyway, I think we should move on to Today I Advice.
So now it's time for Today I Learned.
Today I learned.
And also sometimes advice.
This advice was asked by Jamester. I got into a Facebook fight and was actually 1000% in the wrong. How do I recover, or at least not seem like a complete douche?
Look.
Takes a special kind of person to admit they're wrong in the first place. So pat yourself on the back for that one.
There's two roads to take here. The high and the low. Let's start with the low.
Yeah.
Delete Facebook, start again.
Start again.
Start again, new identity.
Nah, I don't think that's the low. I think that's the high. I think.
I would argue the high road is to actually admit you were 1000% wrong. I think I personally would respect someone that came back to me and be like, you know what? I've looked into this and I was completely wrong and I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I would respect them a lot.
There's actually a subreddit that I started to recently follow. I think it's called Character Arcs or something. Oh yeah, Character Arcs. And it's literally just people posting on social media, and where they've said one thing, then been like, "Oh, actually, I'm wrong," and like underneath that comment, and said why they're wrong or something.
There's quite a well-known series of screenshots from a YouTube channel about flat Earth, where the person's like, "Flat Earth theory. Everyone's lying to you about the flat Earth. Flat Earth theory confirmed. I might be wrong about the flat Earth, guys. Flat Earth is a scam."
Yeah, that's the high road, admitting you're wrong.
Yeah.
I think the low road is what I prefer to take.
Yeah.
And gaslight that person and really convince them that they're wrong. Go to the extent of writing fake articles on whatever it is you're arguing and directing them to their,
Can I just...
No...
I just want to vocalize a concern of mine that this podcast advocates for gaslighting more than I'm comfortable with. We do offer that.
I am totally comfortable with it.
We do offer gaslighting as an out to many problems.
Yeah. And this is one of them. Because, I mean, I think it's almost more satisfying knowing when you're wrong, but being able to convince somebody that they might be wrong as well. That's a weird sort of
skill. Is skill the right word?
I was gonna say like weird sort of satisfaction,
right? Okay,
yeah.
It's you
because
know what
you're
it is?
Like, I've done something incredibly wrong, but like just through the power of my own words, I've managed to convince somebody that they might be wrong.
It's this odd way. I was gonna say it's this odd way to feel validation while also knowing you're incorrect.
Yeah, exactly. Because sure, admitting that you're wrong, that's fine. There's like a bit of, maybe feel a bit better. People respect that. But then that person is smug. They're so smug about it. That's annoying. So you can get the redemption of being like, oh, I know I'm wrong, but then also get the satisfaction of making them think that they're wrong anyway.
I must say, I think it says a lot about online etiquette that this person's like, I was in an argument and I was wrong. God, what do I do? Like, the answer is obvious. You say, I was wrong. If you know you were wrong in an argument, you should say you were wrong.
Yeah.
But the internet doesn't work that way.
No. Not at all. We play a game, and I feel like a lot of people have played similar games before. It's called Salem. And the idea is that the other versions of this are werewolf, mafia,
secret Hitler. Oh no, I used the Godwin thing.
Oh no. And so the idea is that there's you have a secret identity, and you have to try and kill people secretly. And that game is like just only about gaslighting other people.
I have this weird fascination. I don't know whether you've picked up on it, in which even if I'm not guilty, I'll act super suspicious just for the pure chaos of it. Like people will be like, "You are definitely the witch." I'm like, "Oh no, I don't think so." But then I'll do something super suspicious. Because I just like the idea that if I'm always crazy, if I am the witch, it'll be harder to detect. Because they're like, he does this a lot.
He does do this a lot. Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
I think sometimes
I was gonna say it's kind of like that. There was a magician in Victorian London that he pretended to be a crippled old Asian man. And the real trick was that he wasn't crippled. He wasn't even Asian. But it's Victorian London. People didn't know that, I guess. And the real trick was that he always pretended to be crippled no matter what, if he was on stage or off stage. And then so it kind of had this like he was a lot more dexterous than people thought, and he could kind of get away with doing more. That's me in Salem. I'm always crazy and suspicious. So even when I am the witch, I'm crazy and suspicious. So it's no more suspicious than if I'm not.
Yeah. That's why I try to kill you first, Kermit.
You do often try and kill me.
You're so unpredictable. I need to kill you off. Yeah, but I think there's something in that game, and if listeners have played a similar game, there is something satisfying where I really like picking up when people have made a mistake in something that they've said.
Yeah.
And so then me exploiting that mistake and trying to pin it on them.
Yeah. When you
I might not know that they're guilty or not, but I'll do it anyway.
When you get a pile on and turn the whole group against one person that you know for a fact is innocent.
Yeah.
There is this real maniacal satisfaction that you get being like, yes, my puppets, yes.
Yeah. Because once you've done it enough, you just sit back.
And even sometimes come slightly to their defense, be like, oh, I'm not sure, guy. Yeah. And they're like, and then people are trying to...
I'm going to accuse you, but I don't really want to. I'm just jumping on the bandwagon.
And then everyone else is trying to convince you that they're guilty. That's when you know, hook, line, and sinker, you got them.
I actually do love those games. I remember a time I was playing Secret Hitler once, and I was Hitler. This is a weird conversation I've realized to say out loud. I haven't thought about that before. And it was the weirdest game ever, and I feel like it taught me something about like human psyche or something. I don't know. But basically, we had like a symbol. So when you play Secret Hitler, if you're Hitler, you actually don't know who's on your side.
Right.
You as Hitler, you just hope that you're going to be backed up by people, and you kind of have to work out who's on your team without working it out. Anyway. And so we had this kind of sign to be, it was like, put your thumb up at a certain point during the round. And so then everybody would know, okay, you're Hitler, I need to help this guy. And then we have the like, okay, now everyone open your eyes. And I still had my thumb up, I think, at that point. And the person next to me noticed. And I instantly accused the crap out of me. It was like this. And I was like, I'm so done, because just the way I was acting, I was like, I can't get out of this. It's so obvious that it was me. And so what I did was, because I was like, well, I can't say anything because whatever I say is going to make me feel guilty. So I just didn't say anything. I was just like, okay. I just kind of accepted it. And I was like, really? I was like, just the smallest of cues to be like, I'm not really, but just said nothing.
Yeah.
And we won that game. And it was just so obvious that I was. But I think there's this idea in people's head that like, if you're the one yelling loudest, sometimes you're the most suspicious.
Yeah.
And so, because I just didn't put up much for fight. And I think that can be a good tactic, is like, let other people argue themselves into the ground.
Yeah. And it's also an interesting tactic to be super condescendingly dismissive of people. So people are like, I've seen you're working with that person, and I know, like, okay, champ, yeah, cool.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, you know what? Spot on. Yeah.
Yeah. Good work. Yeah. They're really patronizing. Like, oh, you figured it out. Yeah.
Look, it's a tenuous link that you've made there, but look, you technically made it, so good on you.
That's right. We should move on. Let's get into shower thoughts.
Shower thoughts, shower thoughts, shower thoughts, shower thoughts.
This shower thought is by ZB Longladder. There will likely eventually come a point in medicine where the rich are immortal, but the poor still have to die.
Is mortality... Oh, so I should say, is immortality one, achievable in any kind of actual realistic sense, and two, a good thing? Like, it must be a system in which you can tap out at what point you choose, right?
I imagine the idea of immortality, like a realistic immortality, is basically like getting transplants permanently,
right?
And ethically, I think, like growing organs,
yeah,
and then at some point getting them surgically input into your body. Probably the brain being the hardest one. Like, honestly, I think we probably today we could transplant almost everything.
Yeah.
Except maybe the brain.
Yeah.
But let's say at that point, I don't know, we can or whatever. So I imagine you can eventually opt out of it by just not replacing.
Stop upgrading.
Those,
yeah.
Or start replacing those organs that are failing.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's a bit by bit system.
Yeah.
Because to me, the appeal, if they said you could be immortal, or you know what, most people live an average of 80 to 90 years. You can live 600. I'd be like, great, that one. That one sounds good. It's longer than anyone normally gets, but I will definitely die.
Yeah. So that's why I think this statement is potentially true, because I imagine how crazy expensive it would be to grow your own organs, keep them somewhere, I guess, and then have them surgically implanted at some point to replace your current organs. Like, it would just definitely be a rich man's game. And like, that just seems like, imagine if, Elon Musk was just immortal. Like,
I mean, he's working on the Neuralink,
wrong
right?
with that?
He's working on the Neuralink, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Surely that's the last bit that we need. Because as you said, we can pretty much kind of replace most. I'm sure the medical professionals will disagree with this, but you can replace most vital things in a way that may keep you healthy and healthy, except for the brain.
Yeah,
the
that's
Neuralink,
true. It might be actually that the replacement for the brain is a computerized rather than the actual living organ again. Because I think the idea of being able to upload your
consciousness
or brain memory and stuff is theorized to be true, I think. I don't know. Maybe I've just watched too much sci-fi, Cameron. So maybe that would be it. But yeah, I just sort of, it sort of makes me think, because if you look at history, right, and you look at people that have, like colonized countries, and they're sort of put on a bit of a pedestal, but we often look back on them and be like, oh, actually they were extremely racist or something, or caught up in these ideals. Like, it's probably not good for humanity to have rich, influential people being immortal, because we need new ideologies to sort of come up and change society for the better. Potentially. I mean, there's the chance that, like, okay, some of those people who were racist end up understanding changing the racism is wrong, and and changing from that point, because obviously it can be pretty, if you're in a world where everyone around you is saying that you're wrong, racism is totally okay, then your thoughts might go along with that. But
it would certainly slow down progress, I think, because you'd have more people holding back for longer. So like my family leans a lot more conservative than me, and my point is always, like, when people like in my family like, oh, why does everyone need this, or why does it, what it's never been like that. It's silly. Where it's like, if you look at all of history, society has always progressed, and no one's ever held it back. It just takes longer and longer because some people hold on. And if you have people living longer with those ideals, the progression will slow down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I wonder if assassinations become more prevalent.
Maybe.
Like, there's literally we can't wait for this person to die. We have to kill them.
Unless it gets to the point where, like, bullet goes in the head, that triggers something to a computer and another one of him pops out because the consciousness is backed up on a hard drive somewhere.
Oh my God. Can't write this down. This is a great movie. This is a great screenplay.
I feel like that happens every second episode on Rick and Morty.
Yeah, that's true.
There's just a new him because he's backed up something somewhere.
Yeah. Actually, that was literally, isn't that literally an episode of the most recent season? All these clone families.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Bunch of decoys.
Yeah. We'll do one more shout out. This is by Aiden Steele. We expect teenagers to work in food service or retail because they haven't had the work experience to realize how bad those jobs are.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's certainly true that, like, the higher up the ladder you go, the cushier your job generally tends to be. But I think that I developed a lot, especially as a young man, doing quite crappy. Like, I think that I have, I hope, very, like, a high level of respect for a lot of service industry people because I'm like, I know this. And I know it's so, like, people that do skip it tend to not have that. So I think it's good in the development of people.
Yeah. I actually totally disagree with this point.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to totally assume and not know for certain that this is a younger person. Because I think the food service or retail industry, and I've been in both, as in McDonald's and then also the cinema, which is technically classified as retail, but maybe not as retail-y as it can be.
Our technical titles was entertainment service providers.
Yeah, that's right.
So make of that what you will.
Yeah. There was a lot of stripping with the entertainment service provider job. But I think the only bad thing about the job is that they don't pay enough for you to support your life in future.
Yeah.
Like, I think if I could have one of those jobs and be paid what I'm on now, I think I absolutely would. Actually quite enjoy what I do now. But it's like I've had worse jobs kind of after the fact.
Yeah.
When I've gotten to a more even just like sort of senior position, I'm not really on the front line kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would say those jobs were worse for a bunch of different reasons. And I just think that the idea that they're so horrible is not really that true. No. I think there's a lot to be gained from like going home and not taking your work with you is a really big one. I think that a lot of jobs when you grew up and you earn more money and there's other you take home work with you whether you want to or not kind of thing. And you can have shitty days with maybe shitty customers and whatnot. But often there's you can have good sort of working relationships with people as well. Yeah. I find it was easier to make working relationships with people and friendships when I was, maybe that's partly an age thing when I was younger and whatnot, but I definitely made more friends back then than I have now or in the past probably 10 years of my life.
I think honestly, you and I both quite enjoyed our service jobs. I had a great time, mate. I was having a ball. Yeah. I think, I think a lot of people can have satisfaction from those type of jobs. In fact, that's my retirement job. I would love to go back to the cinema and retire and just be an old person that sells tickets to people. Actually, that job almost doesn't exist anymore. I'd have to be selling popcorn to people. Yeah, you would have to be,
but yeah. Anywho, let's get into podnapping.
Oh my god, I'm being podnapped!
Podnapping.
This is Podnapping, where we nap a pod. We take a topic of conversation or a segment from another podcast, and we do it ourselves.
Yeah, so it's my week this week. I am podnapping something that we've actually podnapped in the past, which is the TV series Spicks and Specks. Last time, I think we did something about things that musicians own. It's a music-based TV series. But we're going to podnap probably their most well-known segment, and it's definitely their longest-running segment, which is called Substitute, in which the premise is very simple. Nelson, I've got you to select 3 well-known songs that I don't know, and I don't know what you've selected, and I've done the same. I've selected 3 songs. You don't know what I've selected, and we're just going to sing the songs. However, you have to substitute the lyrics for the song for something that either of us have chosen. So I'm going to send you a document. You're going to have to substitute all the lyrics to the song with these new lyrics. And it's this weird head game. It's kind of like tapping your head and rubbing your belly, where you're trying to read information but keep a tune of a song at the same time. So what I thought, on the show they do it 3 and 3. I thought we'll just go one by one.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got your song selected. I've got my song selected. Now, for your lyrics, Nelson, I've selected where you're going to be getting your lyrics from. Okay, and I'm going to send you the link now. You'll be getting your lyrics from the Wikipedia entry for Rope.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Interesting. The problem I'm going to have is I'm so interested in Rope that it's probably going to throw me off.
You'll be too interested in the history and different functions of Rope that you'll just stop singing altogether and read silently.
Yeah, that's right. Canva, for you, what I've selected is I thought I want to educate myself on a topic that I'm interested about, but I don't really know much about. And, you know, to up my game, so to speak.
Sure.
And so I'm giving you a post from D&D Beyond.
Oh, great.
And it's about the blade singing wizards.
Yeah, I know.
From Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, because I have a blade singing wizard in one of my D&D campaigns, and I just want to learn more about it. You know,
Great.
Understand a bit.
Now, here's a question. This is my biggest fear, right? Because I think that this is going to be harder than it sounds, right? Like, I think once you start reading something but still trying to sing in a tune of something, I might get really confused. Is this going to have a lot of long words that it's going to be hard to pronounce?
Yeah, you have a lot of fantasy words in yours, you know, not in the average English language. Yeah,
great. I should also point out that because we don't know what each other have picked, I don't know whether we've doubled up on songs.
That's true. I tried to pick, I think, 2 easy ones and then one that's maybe a little bit harder.
Yeah, okay. Here's what I thought as well. To give us, we're not musicians, obviously. In fact, I'm not a very good singer even. So here's what I was thinking is, on the show, they start from the start of the song and eventually you try and work out. I think it's totally fine to start from the chorus for us. Like if there's a particular chorus. Cool. The other thing is, so
that's what I did.
I'll give you a couple of slight hints just to make it a little bit easier, in which I've kind of got one newish song, like released in the last 10 years, one older song, maybe from the 60s, 70s, and one more kind of like pop culture-y song.
Okay. Cool.
Not even necessarily in that order either.
Mine older. I want to say 90s for maybe 2. One I don't know. That might be even older.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yep.
But just very well known. So I think.
I've also gone the same. I haven't gone some obscure B-side or anything.
That's great, because I'm terrible with song names and stuff. So. Okay, who's going first?
I'll go first since I'm the one that came up with this stupid thing. Okay. So I'm going to sing my first song, but I'll be using your D&D Beyond article for the lyrics.
Okay.
Blade singing is the subclass for the wizards who 1. Swordplay to supplement their spells alongside. The Eldritch Knight, which fills the opposite niche for 4. Fighters who want spells to supplement the swordplay.
Is it Uptown Funk?
It is Uptown Funk.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's good.
It is.
If you could sing a bit faster, that'd be great. Because I feel like I'm not really getting the information of this blade singing stuff. By the end of it, I want to know about blade singing wizards.
The reason I feel like I did slightly cheat because I realized that I said the word spells twice in a row because that is just what fit in the pattern. Because the next word was alongside, which is so much longer.
It is harder to. I kind of practiced a little bit. Some random lyrics just to be like, how does this work in my head? Like, how do I get through this? And it gets difficult when you've got words with more syllables than you need.
Okay, well done. You got the first one. Okay, do you want to try your first song?
Okay, so here is the Wikipedia article Rope.
You can pick any section you want. You don't have to start from the top. If there's a section that entertains you most, you go ahead.
No, people might want to know. You know, from start to finish about Rope. Okay. A rope is a group of yarns, plies, fibers, or strands that are twisted or braided together.
I think I've got this. We Are the Champions by Queen.
We Are the Champions by Queen. Yes, correct.
Very good, very good. It's interesting. Like, I wonder if we've both deliberately tried to pick songs with very specific melody lines in them. To be like, I don't want to look like a complete idiot, so I need to make sure they're kind of gettable.
That's why my last one is a tiny bit more tricky.
Okay. It is. Do you find this a weird cognitive thing? I find it.
I think your analogy of, rubbing your tummy and patting your head is pretty accurate. Like, it's your brain wants to do one thing and another.
Here's my second song. Hang on, I need to hum the tune to get it.
So, yeah, I've been doing the same.
The Blade Singers made its 5th edition debut, the Sword Crest Adventure Guide. There it was restricted to the elf. The half-elf characters, due to the Forgotten Realms traditional, betrayed of the ancient elven battle art, which combines sword thrust with dance. Hang on. With dance-like movements, a revised version was published in Tasha's Guide to Everything. It removed the racial restrictions and included a few key changes.
Is this like...
which are outlined below. Blade sling features.
Oh, no. This is so hard. Because, there'll be a moment where I'm like, I think I got it. And then it doesn't go the way that I...
Blade sling features. Blade sling features. Training in the war and song. Upon choosing this arcane tradition.
Oh my god,
that's about all I can comprehend in my brain.
Oh no, I don't know if I'm going to get this.
Do you recognize the tune at
really
least?
Hard. That
one was way harder than the first. Because I got to the chorus and I had to re-hum it in my head to go, oh, how's the chorus go? Okay.
Yeah. I don't think this is it, but I definitely got this melody in there, I think, which is, what's it called? From A Lion King.
Oh,
The Lion Sleeps Tonight.
Yeah.
There was a bit in there that I'm like that, but then I was like, okay, so it should go like this, and then you went differently in the melody. I was like, oh, fuck, it's not that.
I'll give you one more section. While the blade slinger tradition might have originated amongst the elves, swordmasters, it's important.
Let it be.
Yes, thank you. Let it be by the Beatles.
Good. Yeah. That's good.
The thing is, I got to the chorus, right? Hummed it in my head. I'm like, oh, it repeats. Let it be. Let it be. I'm like, do I? I had that like a split second. Like, do I repeat the words or do I repeat the melody but change the words?
Yeah, the melody. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Good get.
Okay. Don't know where I'm up to on this ropes.
I did skip to another section when I restarted, so you have missed a section there in the middle.
Oh, Cambo. How am I going to know? Okay.
I don't regret it.
This next section is on construction, Cambo. Okay.
The look in your eyes just then. You went to the screen, looked down, and then went...
Yeah, okay. Rope may be constructed of any long, stringy, fibrous material, but generally is constructed of a certain natural or synthetic fibers.
It's the Spice Girls, and it's if you want to be my lover, you got to get with my... Is that what it's called? If you want to be my...
It's called Wannabe.
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 Yeah. Wannabe by Spice Girls.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Okay. This is my third and final song.
Okay.
And because you're obviously interested in this topic, I just want to let you know this is about the Blade song I'm about to sing about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is important. I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah. Also at a second level, Blade singers receive the key features of the arcane tradition. Blade song even wizards without interest in getting into melee range, with benefits from it as a bonus action. You can start a Blade song.
Yeah. I know this one.
What is it?
Crap. I know this one.
The AC equal to your intel agent's modifier with a minimum of +1. Increased walking speed by 10 feet.
Oh my god, I know this song.
You've definitely got the tune, which I'm very happy with.
Yeah.
Do you want me to give you a slight hint?
Not yet.
Okay.
Can you just
Yep,
do it again?
Yeah.
Can you,
Here's... No, I don't know how to explain without giving it away, but I essentially I need to stick to this one little melody bit.
Okay, yeah.
You can end the Blade song at any time and can only activate it if you aren't wearing medium or high armor or a shield, which are two conditions that you can end the song early. The song also ends if you are incapable of using two hands.
Like Superstar or something like that?
No.
Is that in the lyric or something?
No.
I definitely know the melody and it's killing me that I can't.
Do you want the hint? Otherwise, we're going to have to draw a line under this, Nelson, because it's now just you thinking silently on a podcast.
I know.
This is the pop culture-y song, and it's actually the theme song to a movie.
Theme song to a movie.
Yes.
Yeah. It's Men in Black.
It is Men in Black. Well done.
Yes. Galaxy.
Defenders.
For some reason,
Yeah.
I forgot about the is what I thought Superstar was.
Oh right.
When you think, I don't know why, but like, yeah, in my head I was like, it's something like that. But Galaxy. Yes, I knew it. Damn it,
Yeah,
I knew it was the pop culture one as well.
And
that took me so long.
the reason I had to keep doing that is because the verses are rapped, but I couldn't for the life of me remember the flow of that rap.
Yeah. Okay. Oh man, that's a good one. Okay.
What you got 3 of 3 by the way.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm so certain is going to be happening is people listening are going to be yelling at me for being like, it's obviously this, Nelson.
I'm so curious if any of our listeners got these as well. Hopefully they did. That would be a compliment to us, I suspect. But I do honestly want to know whether people got the songs.
Yeah.
All right, your last song.
My last song. I feel like I should have made it harder now that I think about it. I think you get this one. Okay. Not that I don't want to I want to make it impossible, but anyway. Okay, here we go. I'm up to size measurement, by the way.
Great.
Of rope. What? Size measurement of rope? That's a weird thing to... Anyway. It's because, like, it could be any length. Anyway. Okay. The long history of rope means that many systems have been used to state the size of a rope. In systems that use the inch, imperial and U.S. customary measurement systems, large ropes over 1 inch, 25.4 millimeters diameter, such as those used on ships, are measured by their circumference in inches.
I have the tune.
Wait, I've got it. Smaller ropes have a normal diameter based on the circumference.
Ain't no mountain high enough. And no matter high enough?
The metric system is how the end of that lyric goes. Yeah.
Is that it? Is that ain't no mountain high enough?
No mountain high enough. Yep, by Marvin Gaye.
Yeah. Oh, that was so frustrating at the beginning. Because I was humming the tune with you. Like, yeah, I've definitely locked onto this tune. I definitely recognize it. But without that chorus, I would have been dead.
You get it at the chorus. But do you know what? Like, I had to stop myself because I'm not singing the actual lyrics. I couldn't remember the transition.
Yeah, I had to do that for Let It Be. I had to stop and think.
And be like, okay, now just start singing the chorus. Yeah, okay. It's really funny.
Oh, very good. Well, we both got 3 for 3. Cool. It turns out we're either extremely good at this or we're very generous to ourselves.
Perhaps that's
who's to say. Yeah. But if people want us to do this again, we're happy to. But maybe people can send us songs, so then we're less inclined to make it easy for ourselves.
Maybe, yes. Yeah. But also not impossible songs.
Yeah, not impossible songs. And also, we don't know a lot of modern music, do we, Nelson?
Yeah. If we could get some, like, Bach and Beethoven in there, that would be really good.
Yeah. Big time. Do you reckon you could do, like, the in the end, play song at any time. Yeah, it's hard.
yeah. It's doable, though.
It's doable.
All right, now it's time for the Ask Me Anything, where listeners of the show, just like you, listener, can write in and ask us anything you want.
Yes, got one here from... Oh, actually, it didn't have a name. Is this Jaden, I believe, the first one?
Oh, crap. No, this is actually Jeremy.
Oh, Jeremy. Okay, sorry, wrong J name. I apologize. It says, hello, gentlemen. And then I believe it says a bit of a... Yeah, they've actually put the little emoji in. I must say that is a trumpet, not a bugle, but we'll let it slide. I'd like to announce that I've received my first Reddit Gold the other day, one of the best achievements of my life. We'll end the announcement. The whole email, which I must say is not present in this email. They've bugled in, but they've not bugled out.
We've assumed that that's when the announcement ends.
Yeah. So they've received their first Reddit Gold the other day. One of the best achievements of my life. For listeners who don't know, Reddit Gold grants time-sensitive access to the exclusive subreddit r/lounge. I took a peek and read a few posts, and the atmosphere of it was like another world. The exclusivity of it all made me pissed off, and I got to say, r/lounge isn't all that. Anyways, I listened.
I actually didn't know that. Did you know that, by the way?
I did. I remember I got like an inbox, like an automated... Someone gave me gold for something. I don't know what. And they said, you can access the lounge. And I went, nah.
Yeah,
that was the end of my experience.
Yeah, okay.
It continues. Anyway, I listened to the episode about Nelson's incident during his blood donation. It reminded me of the time this blood drive lady asked me to donate, but I had to politely decline because I suck dick. Are those pesky gays in Australia not allowed to donate blood either? Speaking of scary diseases, of the two of you guys, who would be the most likely to give the other COVID? Your Chicago and straight correspondent. Interesting. Mm-hmm. The straight correspondent has gone.
Straight correspondent that sucks dick.
Yeah.
It's perfectly normal. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so... Yes.
Yes, the pesky gays are not allowed to donate blood either.
If you think that America is behind the times on gay rights, which some people do claim, Australia's worse. We legalized gay marriage after you guys, and it was like a huge deal. They wasted a lot of taxpayer money with a plebiscite to do it. It's
and then when the votes came in. It was, correct me if I'm wrong, Camber, but I think it was something like 60-40 and for gay marriage. I'm like, that's not actually a good percentage.
No. You would want a clearer percentage.
Like 80-20 would be, what I actually expect. But 60-40 was like way too close for me to be comfortable with it.
So unfortunately, if you're gay here in Australia, you can't donate blood. So the other question is, which of us, if one of us had COVID, who would be more likely to give it to the other? It's a tough one. I don't know if there's a clear answer for this one. We're both pretty COVID conservative, I would say. Generally, we both we're good boys. We obey the rules.
Good boys.
Yeah. Even I've now booked in for a vaccination. We can finally do it. They've opened up the caveat. They're like, oh, there's a real slim chance it'll kill you, but you can get this other vaccine if you want. But I shouldn't even say that. That's kind of misinformation. There's like a very, very slim chance of blood clots, less than the contraceptive, the pill. Like it's super, super low risk. But they've opened up to young people, and Stacey and I are both booked in. I don't know who would be more likely of the two of us.
I do go around just kissing a lot of people. So I don't know if that might impact it. More of a mainly because I'm in the Australian mafia. And so
you're Italian heritage.
Yeah. I do this sort of
both cheeks.
Both cheeks, and then also the kiss of death.
Yeah.
If I need to get somebody whacked, I obviously kiss them smack back on the lips.
Yeah.
So in those circumstances, maybe I'm closer to,
I would say there's only one instance in which I think we've both flaunted COVID rules, which was a recording of a very special episode. We were still technically in lockdown, but you did technically come over.
That is true.
Which means technically you were slightly more illegal, I think.
Yeah, I was more illegal.
By
I broke the rules. You were just at home.
I'm like, what are you doing here? Wink. Plausible deniability, obviously. But we're on a pretty even scale, but yours tipped just ever so slightly up, like an extra gram or two, which I guess means you were technically more likely, just in the transit between your place and mine, you could have caught it.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, I just thought of another thing. The other day, I went to a Jewish engagement party. So
this is not only extremely topical, only to Melbourne, but by the time this releases, old news.
Even older news. Basically, some fucking idiots had an engagement party where we're in total lockdown, and there's videos online of them making fun that it was a group therapy session.
Yeah.
And so therefore it was allowed. And it's like, ha ha ha. But turns out the groom-to-be and I think his mother had COVID.
Yeah.
So
and there were 65 people in attendance without masks in the one place, which is like, funnily enough, that same day, a 2-week extension to our lockdown was announced.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're completely correlated, but it certainly didn't help, did it?
Yeah. Just so dumb.
Yeah.
Just people are so effing dumb.
Anyway, that happened some time ago.
I saw a little article that was like, the family members are complaining because they received online bullying. It's like, F you dumb idiots.
Yeah.
If you're going to do something dumb like that, this is one of the consequences. Yeah. Like, people are going to hate you for it because we've all been in lockdown and shit like this is the reason why we continue to stay there. Like, what dumb idiots. Oh, so annoys me so
I remember
much.
I read the headline. It said, shock and outrage at a Jewish engagement party. And I remember thinking, I hope Jewish is important to this story because it seems weird to call it out if not. And I read the article. I don't know if it was, but like it's weirdly everyone's like, oh yeah, that Jewish engagement party.
I think it was, I don't know. I think it's just a way to describe it. I don't think it was like,
it's kind of like when, like, yeah, if someone brings up a particular detail being like, oh yeah, and then this black guy came up and I'm like, oh, sure, I hope that's relevant to the story in some way, depending where this story is going.
Yeah. That's true. They were probably just throwing the whole Jewish community in the, trying to create some animosity and a common enemy, I think.
The only reason I brought that up at all is because in the immediate aftermath, there were a few Jewish jokes going around about it. I'm like, that is only because they reported that it was a Jewish engagement party.
Yeah. A lot of people were breaking that rule, Camber.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. All right, I've got another one here. This is by Hazza. Gentlemen cunts. Just curious, if we lived in a perfect world and the 2020 Olympics were actually the Baguette Olympics, how do you think they would be going? It's fun to watch the athletes, but disappointing to see the lack of scarfing down bread. Love you guys, Hazza.
Hazza. I feel like this is a Trojan horse attempt to turn this podcast into a different podcast that we've straight up condemned. And I don't want this podcast, Reddit on Reddit, copyright to us, to devolve into Reddit on Reddit, which this does. I know that we came up with the Bagel Olympics originally. I'm aware of that. So you got a loophole, and I got to appreciate a loophole. So we will talk about this, but we have our eye on you.
This is what I'm thinking, Cambo. Let's give it a go. The Reddit on Reddit podcast might end up being more successful than our podcast. If we have people writing in being like, oh, I loved that last question in the AMA about the Baguette Olympics.
Yeah.
I think we just transition slowly into the Reddit on Reddit podcast.
Yeah.
I think that's what we should do.
I would be in favor of the sports being the same, but with bagels included. In which case, I would love to see the swimming. And at the end of the sport, you have to eat the bagel. Oh, the baguette. The baguette, sorry, not bagel. The baguette. So only because
all sorts of bread, Canberra. It's called the Baguette Olympics, but I think there's different types of bread.
Yeah.
Because you can't use a baguette in every sport, Canberra. You got to think about this,
But like French stick for rowing, I'm into that idea.
Yeah, that's good.
Because the more you row, the softer the bread gets, and the harder it becomes to row.
Well, I think the thing is, your boat has to be full with baguettes, and then that's when you've got to find the right point in which you can throw away your current baguette and get a fresh one, because obviously there's like a weight thing as well. Like you don't want to put too many baguettes in your boat to begin with.
I would say, if it was the Baguette Olympics, the thing that would change is my watching of it. Are the Olympics done? Are they finished?
They have, yeah.
Didn't watch a second of it.
Do you know the funny thing is, the only reason I know that is because this morning when I was putting the show notes together, I pasted in Haz's comment, and then I went, is the Olympics still on?
Is this relevant or topical?
And Googled to see that it had in fact finished. So that's the only way I'm now able to inform you that it is no longer on. But yeah, I still think this is a great. I mean, we should maybe start small. I think we need to choose one sport that we integrate bread into. Yeah.
I've got it.
Then from there, create more. Okay.
First sport, long French stick, pole vault.
Pole vault. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Because I don't think anyone's clearing the pole.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a really stale stick of bread.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of it. You got to be like, it's stale, but not too stale, because otherwise it'll crumble instantly. There's like a
Goldilocks area of staleness.
Yeah. There will be the scientific industries of each country will have to figure that out themselves.
Is there bread inspection at the end to make sure that it is still technically bread?
Yeah, you haven't like baked bread around a huge pole.
It's exactly the same. The athletes still have to go up and get their urine test and doping things, but the bread is also inspected to check the molecular structure of the bread is still technically bread.
No. This is what I think it is we don't inspect the bread, but after every event, you have to eat the bread. And that's part of your time as well. So even though obviously pole vaulting is like a height thing, there's also now a time element that is scored as well.
Yeah, so it's
so you finish. So it's like if you jump over, but then you have to eat steel because your pole is half steel, half bread. Yeah, that's a consequence you've got to live with.
French sticks can get quite long, and obviously if you're pole vaulting, they're going to be quite long. Do they have to eat the whole thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Because they'd be like, I made a clearance of 1.25 m or whatever. I don't know if that's a regular pole vault height, but let's say. But a time of 28 minutes, 17 seconds to eat that entire loaf.
I think pole vaulting could potentially become a longer event than the marathon running.
Can you eat? Because you're handing off some kind of loaf as the baton, maybe in the relay. Can you eat as you go, as long as you hand off some bread, or do you have to eat at the end? Because
if you go, for sure. By the end of the race, you can't have any bread left.
Yeah, okay.
So I think there could be different strategies. It could be like maybe the first runner.
Yeah.
They eat it almost all until there's like a tiny bit left. And then that tiny bit goes to the last person. They chuck it in their mouth for the last stretch of the race.
Yep.
Or each runner could have a little bit themselves. It's totally up to them how they want to do it.
Like, could you, could it be a strategy, like say you've got 4 people in your relay and no one necessarily eats bread. And then at the end, when it comes back, all 4 of you, now hungry from the run, scoff down the bread together. Could that be a strategy?
Okay. Right.
The coaches have to decide whether we're going to do the post-race scoff or the during race eat. That's the 2 strategies of the relay.
Yeah. That's true, but I feel like most people would just opt for the after race scoff. And the problem I have with that is that I don't get to see runners
try to
eat bread on the run and just like dying.
Yeah, getting a stitch.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want to see from the bread Olympics, the baguette Olympics. But anyway, that would be a perfect world.
Yeah.
Hallie, if only we could get there.
Maybe if Kermit didn't exist, that was what would have happened.
That's where we would be right now. Anyway, thank you for adding in Hazza and Jeremy. If you would like to write into us, you can do so. Reddit podcast, READIT podcast @gmail.com. You can also reach us at Facebook, Twitter, and our subreddit. They're all READIT podcast. We'd also appreciate it if you could subscribe if you're not already.
Yep.
And rate the show if your podcasting app allows you to.
Yep. I'm also very interested if people tell us whether or not they recognize the songs we were singing in Podnapping as well. Be it on our subreddit or on our Discord. Just send us a message.
Yeah. Were you yelling through the through your phone?
It's Men in Black!
Yeah. But that's it. So thanks for listening, and we will read you later.